Abe Burmeister, you are the founder of Outlier NYC, a fashion and clothing brand based here in New York City. Let's talk about technology inside of fashion and clothing, especially digital transformation. Digital transformation is happening in every industry, whether they're SMBs, startups, or enterprise companies. But in fashion in particular, technology has a really interesting role to play. Can you bring us inside and help us understand the role that technology plays in fashion and especially in Outlier NYC?
Yeah, so when I started, we're getting up to our 10th anniversary now. So I started in 2008, and I knew more about making websites than I knew about making clothes, which was a really fortuitous kind of start at that time. There were other people sort of doing direct consumer clothing, but very, very few of them. It was not an obvious decision, and if you went to like a big website, a Prada.com or something, Dior, they would have a splash page and nothing else, which is kind of insane to think about it, right? So we jumped into sort of this direct-to-consumer e-commerce clothing very early on, and it really changes the business tremendously. And you actually see it. The retail world in clothing is going through what's called like a retail apocalypse. Like these brands are closing left and right, these stores are shutting down, and what you see is that they just don't know how to handle online. Like the dynamics are different, the economics are different. Everything changes when you start putting clothes online. So it's a different world. So it's like kind of, it used to be go into a shop and not know what you were buying, right? You'd have you could look at a pair of pants and there might be a tag on it, and maybe you read an article that you stuck in your pocket somewhere or you forgot about. But you really, you could look at a couple different pants and compare them, but you didn't know. Now the whole world's at your fingertips. You can go online, and we're in a world of like information-rich products, including clothing. So it's a different world now.
So I think most fashion is B2B, right? And
Oh, yeah.
You guys made the decision to go B2C. Why make that decision, and how has data kind of helped inform your decision-making process?
Well, so it's funny, like a lot of fashion is B2B, but actually there was a lot of B2C too, like a Gap is B2C, but they do it through retail stores, right? So we're sort of the second wave of that transformation where it's like, we can actually talk to the customers and deliver them things that they're interested in rather than just guessing. And in fashion, you're talking about guessing 18 months out sometimes, 24 months out. High fashion, it's 6 months out before they do it, but it's a lot of, the communication with the customers is radically different now. So, we launch a product and we know within 5 minutes, like if it's successful or not. And, sometimes there's like the slow burners that might take a few weeks to like take off. But for the most part, we put a product up and we can see by the velocity of sales and the excitement, what people are saying, how they're talking, what kind of questions they're asking, like whether it's going to be a successful product or not. And so we're talking about going from 18 months to know if your product is successful to 5 minutes, right? So it's a radical transformation.
I'm glad you mentioned conversations, and that kind of implies social media,
Yeah.
and we'll get there in just a second, but I kind of want to walk on a path there. When you say success, or you're able to see success very quickly, what signals do you look for? What data tells you, this is doing very well, or maybe we need to rethink the strategy?
Well, there's a couple different layers to it, but obviously, velocity of sales is the first thing, right? And we can see that instantly. We're like, it goes live and people are buying it at this speed, right? And then, that's relative to the price point too. So the more expensive an item, the slower it is going to sell naturally. It takes more time for people to make the leap when it costs a lot of money versus if it's inexpensive. So that's the first set of things that we look at. And then we look for more qualitative kind of information, like what are people saying, how they're responding, and then after a week or two we start getting return information, right? Because when you're buying something sight unseen online, right, like the return rate is actually a big factor there, because you're basically like not really buying it, you're taking it into the changing room when you buy it, right? And so it has to fit, it has to. So you get this next wave of information when people start getting it, trying it on. Do they send it back? Do they say, I love this, I want to review it? Do they want to make a post about it, put a YouTube video up, right? So, and that's a little less scientific. I mean, obviously return rates are real, and so we have all that kind of data is there, and tracking that is always interesting. But a lot of it is like trying to gauge the energy of the conversation, right? Like, and there's numbers there, like, oh, this has this many comments, this one has less, right? But a lot of it's trying to dig beneath that and say like, oh wow, are people like excited about this? Are they telling their friends about this? Are they like, you know, are they going to buy more? Or if it's a, you know, depends on the product. Some products you only really need to buy one of. Some you might buy multiples. So it's a lot of like really like getting into this social media world and kind of trying to find the clean information in the noise, right?